I'm gonna get this character sooner than later.
Eve, where have you been all this time?
Huh? I've just been playing Zenless for a bit.
A bit? Do you realize how much time has passed?
Maybe like 3-4 hours.
It's been 2 months.
What? No.
What do you mean no? I've been asking you to let us get a haircut for so long now. We even somehow got the money to get a Switch too. You haven't even played it since then.
Okay, I'll stop. What do you want?
What do I want? I want to do something together. It's been months.
Alright then, sit down.
Huh?
Sit down. We're gonna make a video about gacha games and how wonderful they are.
I don't know if I like that idea.
Gacha games can come in many forms. Some are RPGs, some are strategy games, some have gimmicks unique to the game, but they all have one thing in common. There's a gacha mechanic in them. This genre of games are typically viewed as somewhat controversial, but to me, I think they're pretty interesting. First of all, the gacha concept comes from these machines from Japan called gachapon, where you put a certain amount of money in, and a prize would come out. The prize would always be random, so if you would want a specific prize, you would either get it in the first attempt, or after many. This sort of thing existed since around the 1960s. So this concept isn't anything new. However, in terms of gacha video games, they didn't start existing until the 2010s. The concept in games already existed before, but what really popularized it was a mobile game called Dragon Collection. From then on, gacha games that were made had some sort of thing you can get by using some sort of in-game currency to pull for them. And that's basically the gist of gacha games. There is no single reason as to why gacha games are popular. Their biggest gimmick is the gacha mechanic, but the game itself wouldn't just be pulling for things. As I said, they come in many forms, and that's actually done intentionally. There would be at least one genre that would be someone's cup of tea. You can definitely see that from the Hoyoverse games, where they have many different games and all do pretty well. You have Honkai 3rd Impact, which works kind of like a more linear game in which you mainly level up your characters. That formula kind of changed now ever since the company got bigger. There's Genshin Impact, which was actually revolutionary to the gacha game industry, making an open world RPG where the characters you pull for affect the gameplay. You have Honkai Star Rail, which is more so just a turn-based RPG. In the most recent game, Zenless Zone Zero is similar to 3rd Impact where the characters are the main focus of the game, but there are tasks to do that don't involve combat. Some of these games are more appealing than others in terms of gameplay, and you would see some people preferring to play the game rather than pull for characters. There are many other games that have appeal to them in their gameplay, and one I am typically a sucker for is the Genshin model. Exploration is really fun in these games, so it would be a lot of fun to go around and do tasks with the characters you have. The big elephant in the room to why they're appealing is the characters they offer. There are typically two types of gacha games: licensed gacha games and original gacha games. With the licensed games, they would already have popular IPs to them, so it would be super easy to pull in an audience with that alone. The characters that exist in them would typically have at least one fan for them, so it would cause people to want to pull for them. Many of the popular gacha games you may hear about come from IPs. However, the original games would typically be original characters. Games like Genshin or even Nikke, which I will not give any footage of, have found a way to appeal to many people to the point where they would want to pull for these characters. Sometimes, these games would have collabs with big IPs and would cause more people to want to get characters for that game. In a sense, there is a certain fun to these games. Many would see it as gambling, and well, yeah, it really is. But the thing is, you actually don't need to spend money for these games. So if you want to start playing just to get the character, you can. And the fact that these characters would mainly be limited time would pretty much make the entire thing seem like an event. All in all, there's a lot of appeal when it comes to gacha games, and because there is something for everyone, that's what makes them popular.
So you're just gonna ignore the bad parts of gacha games?
Bad parts? What are you talking about?
You forget that I've been on record to say I've played these games. Okay, then if you have some bad parts you want to share, then go ahead, I'm listening.
Although there is appeal to gacha games, there are also things that are unappealing to people. I would even say these things are much stronger than the appeal, which ultimately gives these games their tainted reputation. To start it off, these games fall into the live service category of games. And believe me, I do not like that type of structure for games. What makes that bad is the fact that not only do you need the internet to play these games, but there's also the chance that the game will end its service whenever it wants. Sometimes it's done because the game doesn't have many players to maintain its servers. Whatever the case, there will come a time where you will never get access to the game again. However, that's a bit tame to the other reasons why many people may not want to play these games. So another reason that can cause people to stay away from these games is because many of them are mobile exclusive. It wasn't until very recently where companies would actually make these games playable for PC or console. And most of the popular games that exist are only playable on mobile, like Fire Emblem Heroes or Dragon Ball Dokkan Battle. However, again, this is another tame reason as to why people would not be appealed. The games I just gave an example of are popular, so you can see that it doesn't fully affect them much. The most unappealing thing about these games are actually two things: the gacha system itself and the characters included. Let me start with the characters because honestly, I don't even think this applies to most of you. I'm just gonna come out and say it, some of these games go for such gooner designs. You know what that means. I'm also not gonna show any Nikke gameplay. But you know what? I blame that game for games nowadays going towards the more gooner designs for characters. Even in non-gacha games, like Marvel Rivals, they're showing up more. I guess it works too well. And again, this doesn't apply to all people, so it's not like that's the reason why people get deferred from these games. Anime character designs can also be the reason too. Anyways, I'm going to my next point, the gacha system. This system is pretty much gambling for a character. Yes, there are ways to make chances more likely to get the character, and yes, you don't have to pay money for this mechanic. But let's be real, how many people don't spend money on this?
Well, I don't. Good for you.
But even if there aren't many people who spend money to get their desired rewards, the people who do most likely spend a ton. They call these people whales. Even if they weren't exposed to gambling in the past, this gacha system has another thing coming to them. Of course, this isn't always the case for everyone, but these things happen. And again, one day, all of what they spent will pretty much go to a void because these games don't stay open forever. Maybe a long time, but not forever.
Huh, so that's how some people think of gacha games. I didn't know that. Well, anyways.
Gacha games are a really interesting genre of games after all. They may not be everyone's preference, but they sure do bring some noise to the gaming world. I mean, Hoyoverse sneezing another game would always bring some sort of conversation. A certain collab would have people looking out on these games. And don't get me started on the plethora of upcoming gacha games that actually have a lot of noise around them. I mean, Neverness to Everness and Ananta, formerly known as Project Mugen, have been in my radar ever since I've seen their first trailer. I've especially been on the lookout for Ananta since it was called Project Mugen and was genuinely spreading the word for it too. They bring a lot of variety. And obviously, you don't have to like these games. People spending money on these games is entirely their choice. So it's not like you will become broke by playing these games by default. These games would also have some events on top of the new content to keep people coming back, so they won't always be stale. Overall, I'm a fan of gacha games, but I'm not the type to spend on them.
Oh, so you weren't spending your money away? No, I'm not like you. Kind of ironic since I'm technically you. Well, whatever the case, why don't you get the Switch version of Genshin so we can play together? That didn't come out yet. Still? But it's been years. Well, then just get it on mobile. Yeah, I guess in the end we are doing something together after all. But what about the haircut?